Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you were to look only at the spec sheet for the Honda Monkey, you may conclude that it was actually a terrible motorcycle. It weighs 235 pounds, but it only has 9 horsepower. It doesn't have very good brakes, it doesn't have very good suspension, and just for reference, my riding lawnmower has 23 horsepower. But this is exactly the problem with the Honda Monkey. The story of the Monkey really cannot be fully told by traditional motorcycle review or by looking at spec sheets. So today I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why the Honda Monkey is one of my absolute favorite motorcycles.
There are many ways of covering ground. You can be conventional and use 4 wheels. There's nothing wrong with this. You'll have lots of company. Or you can relive palmier days, like this. Only a good horse is hard to find. On the other hand, you may prefer the simplicity of 2 wheels. Of course, you put more in than you get out. But by replacing muscle power with horsepower, you can ride a Honda, conserve your energy, and enjoy the fun, freedom, and economy of 2 wheels.
So as we jump into this review, I'm curious, if you needed something for urban and around town transportation, would you spend about $1,500 and buy an e-bike, or would you spend $4,200 and buy something like this Honda Monkey? Let me know down in the comments below, because there's this huge discussion about whether electric bicycles are replacing motorcycles like this for less money. All right, so we should probably discuss a little bit about the history of Honda's strange looking mini bike, the Monkey. Honda Monkeys were initially developed for use at amusement parks, but Honda eventually rolled out versions of the Monkey worldwide as part of a huge and daring marketing campaign aimed at getting newer and younger riders into motorcycling. And it worked. The Honda Monkey is one of 5 MiniMotos that Honda sells in the United States in 2024. The Grom Monkey Trail 125 and SuperCub C125 are all based on a 124cc fuel-injected engine, and they all cost between $3,500 and $4,200. The smaller and cheaper Honda Navi, about $2,000, is based on a smaller 109cc carbureted engine and has much lower end components. All right, let me show you the seat height, riding position, ergonomics of the Monkey. So it is a small, compact motorcycle, short wheelbase, pretty low to the ground. So we're not talking about a Harley or a Goldwing here, so keep those things in mind. 30.5 inch or 774 millimeter seat height. Let me show you how that looks. Now, for reference, I'm a good sized American guy, probably ate a little bit too much lately. I weigh about 200 pounds or 90 kilograms. I'm 5'10" or 1.78 meters, and I have a 32-inch inseam. So if I try to put my kickstand here back on my pine cone, you can see the riding position. It is somewhat compact, but it's actually pretty comfortable. It's not like my knees are up in the air. I do have decent leg room. There's room to move around. The seat is wide and padded and comfortable. It's actually a surprisingly comfortable place to be. And of course, I've got this super easy reach to the ground. You know, and the bike is so lightweight. I mean, look at this. That's how lightweight this bike is, and it's just that's one of the reasons I love it, which we'll get to, is just how lightweight and easy to manage this bike is. It's good for newer riders, but experienced riders are going to enjoy it as well. It's just easy to use and not intimidating. All right, some quick specs and then a walk around of the features of the Honda Monkey. So for 2024, the Honda Monkey costs $4,299 MSRP. It weighs 231 pounds or 135 kilograms with a full tank of fuel, which is about 1.5 gallons or 5.7 liters. Now the fuel economy, we'll talk about this in another segment, but it gets between 100 to 150 miles a gallon. And no, that's not a typo. So you can easily go over 100 miles or 160 kilometers on a tank of fuel, which then will only cost you, in today's money, at least where I live in California, maybe $6 to fill the tank. So that's pretty incredible. The engine is a fuel-injected 124cc air-cooled single-cylinder, making about 9 horsepower. It has a 5-speed transmission, chain drive, disc brakes, and about 4 inches or 100 millimeters of suspension travel. It also has a 30.5 inch or 774 millimeter seat height and a very, very tiny 45-inch or 1,143 millimeter wheelbase. We've got this really cool chrome kind of high front fender that looks totally right on this bike. Little fork guards here that have the ABS. So the bike does have front ABS, but no rear ABS on the rear wheel. So I like that setup, and I'll show you why when we ride it. Got 2 pistons there on the front brake, small front disc. You can see you've got an inverted fork. I mean, that's pretty cool. That it makes the bike look better, and it gives a little modern touch, and probably handles better too because you get this inverted front fork. We've talked about that. There's the horn. Looked at the lighting already. Coming around to the side, you can see kind of some engine covers here. Of course, the classic monkey fuel tank design. The exhaust kind of comes down and does like a curly thing under the engine, probably for sound deadening. If you can see the motor, the cylinder kind of sticking out here in the front, it's air cooled, so it gets plenty of air there to cool it. You can see your controls, kind of the scrambler style, kind of high exhaust with the chrome. I really like the plaid seat. I think that's really neat and really sets this bike off. Even the springs, like if you notice, they color match the springs on the bike, so you've got these red springs. That's fantastic. Even the swing arm is painted red, so they really paid attention to details that matter. You can see the rear disc brake, the rear lighting setup, the rear number plate, and all that. Coming around here, you can see the chain drive, the other shock absorber. There is like a, I guess, helmet lock here, which is cool. This is the key to go ahead and remove your seat. You can see the other side of the engine here, the kickstand, which I have resting on a handy pine cone, which is obviously the approved way to do things. And then jumping on the bike, looking at the controls, very big buttons for your lights and your horn and your turn signals. Very basic controls, but I do like them. Round mirrors, which are correct for the styling to make this bike look, kind of give it that old school look. Non-adjustable levers, chrome tubular handlebar, and then one thing that I don't like about the bike is this super dim LCD. So like coming back to here where I sit, how are you supposed to read that? It's this reverse LCD with a kind of a light colored letters on a dark background, and you really can't read it. I think there might be a way to adjust the brightness, but I haven't been able to figure it out. So if you know that, drop it down in the comments, because that'd be good for people to know. But it's really hard to read. You do get basic things like trip A and B. That's all you really get is 2 trip meters and an odometer. You get a fuel gauge and you get a speedometer, and then some warning lights like ABS, neutral, engine light, stuff like that, high beam indicator. So pretty basic controls, but they work okay, except for the fact that I really have a hard time reading it.
A Honda is easy to ride. Even your brother-in-law can master it in minutes. And as for economy, a Honda never gulps gas, just sips it 200 miles to the gallon. And a Honda costs less to own than a good set of golf clubs. It can hold 45 miles an hour all day without complaining. The engine practically takes care of itself. That's an automatic clutch and 3-speed shift he's using. Foolproof and simple.
Feel the power. Unleash 9 horsepower of fury. Okay, so reason number 1 that I love the Monkey, I want to talk about fuel economy. So Honda's little 124cc fuel injected single cylinder air cooled engine, you get anywhere between 100 to 150 miles per gallon. I'll put the metric conversion below, but take a minute to think about what that means. 100 to 150 miles a gallon. When have you ever driven a vehicle that gets fuel economy at that level? Maybe some scooters, but even scooters, I mean, I've tested scooters, some of the bigger ones. I mean, they don't get 150 miles a gallon. So what does this mean? Well, with a 1.5 gallon tank, it means that with the Monkey, realistically, you can go 100, 150 miles on a tank of gas, and it costs, at today's fuel prices here in California, it'll cost you about around $6 to fill it, maybe $7. You can't even buy a McDonald's sandwich and Coke for $7 these days. You can't even buy an In-N-Out for $7 these days, sad as that is. This is such a great bike. Woo, gravel. For running around, commuting, anything below like about 40, 45 miles an hour, even 50 miles an hour. This bike's really comfortable. And this is the kind of speeds that it likes to do. And the slower you go, the better fuel economy you're going to get. Now, if you think about what does it cost to fill up your car or your truck or whatever you drive on a daily basis, or maybe you commute to work in a vehicle, what are you spending on gas or diesel to fill that up, to fuel that? I know my truck costs around $100 or so to fill it with diesel at today's fuel prices, sometimes even more than that if I really run it down. So the idea of spending $7 to fill this up and then drive it all week or commute on it all week, that's amazing. So the fuel economy is incredible on this bike. And of course, this would apply to some of the other MiniMotos as well. But with the Monkey, you get all the personality of the Monkey plus that really awesome fuel economy. So the bike, the bike is really, it feels like kind of riding a mini bike, which it is. The handling's really like quick, but it doesn't feel like really planted. Like it feels, because of the short wheelbase, like you kind of feel a little wobbly and a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, but just, it's hilarious, it's fun, but it's not something you want to go super fast on. It's also really quiet and really smooth. The engine is just very refined, as you kind of expect from a Honda.
The next reason I love the Honda Monkey is how Honda has decided to style the bike. So to me, it is like a modern interpretation of a classic throwback styling. And I just think that Honda's designers did an absolutely phenomenal job styling this. I just can't tell you, like when I go to town with this bike, drive it around, park it, get some coffee or whatever, there are so many people that come up and want to talk about this bike. And when you ride this bike through town, and they kind of see how you look on the bike and they see the bike going down the road, people just stare and point and give you thumbs up and high five. And it's just the coolest thing. So whatever magic Honda's done here, it's really, really worked.
Okay, the next reason I love the Honda Monkey is that it's lightweight, accessible, easy to ride, and it's not intimidating. So what do I mean by that? Well, everything's low to the ground, it's compact, it's super lightweight. I mean, look at that, it's almost like throwing around a bicycle or something. So you will find that you want to explore places. Like, I want to go and explore this trail today. Well, and don't worry, this is totally a legal trail. See, it says right there. So it's such a small, light bike. We'll just go through the pedestrian gate and not the vehicle gate. So we'll open this up. We'll go through here. The bike is super light to pick up and move around. And just easily walk it through here. It feels like nothing. It feels like the bike weighs, almost nothing. So I really enjoy that. Make sure to close our gate here so our cattles don't have a big stampede and get out. We wouldn't want to do that. Stampede! Okay. Now let's go explore. So, because this bike is so lightweight and accessible and easy to use, second gear. You should start in first gear. There's a tip for you riders out there. So because it's so lightweight and easy to ride, whoa! Oh my gosh, this thing is so bouncy. You will tend to want to go explore stuff. Now, when I say go off-road on the Monkey, I don't mean hard enduro, obviously. And I also don't mean going fast, because you can't go fast. You have to really keep your speed in check. I mean, you've got, what are the tires again? They're 12-inch. I think they're 12-inch wheels and tires. So, you're not going to be, the wheels are small and they go further into the holes, like, so you get kind of a bumpy ride, and the suspension's really bouncy. But I'm telling you, I'm having so much fun right now. It feels like I'm a kid again. What this reminds me of is being when I was a kid, exploring kind of the hills around my house. I grew up in the country, and we had little scooters and little dirt bikes and stuff that we got passed down to us. And just going out and exploring and not having an agenda, and not having to worry about going fast or getting to a certain place, but just enjoying your day and enjoying an actual motorcycle ride without the pressure of performing at some high level or whatever. there's some joyous thing to that, and I really love this. So the monkey, oh, that was you can really, the suspension is really bad, but that's kind of also what makes it more fun or a challenge, because you got to negotiate things like that, and you really got to be careful, but it's fun in the same way. Now when you do go off-road, so you've got the ABS on the front, which I like, so you see there's ABS on the front, but then there's no ABS on the back, so you can you can skid the rear wheel, make a nice big slide. You can jump on and off the bike so easily. I mean, you can it's so low to the ground, you can just throw this thing around. I love mini bikes, if you can't tell. Let's do a big burnout. Burn rubber, baby. Woo! Okay, slow down, slow down.
I think we should talk briefly about the different Honda MiniMotos, because a lot of people are like, well, should I get a Monkey? Should I get a Grom? Should I get a SuperCub? Should I get a Trail 125? So let's do this. So the Monkey and the Grom are very, very similar, except for the styling, which was obvious major differences in the styling. And they both use traditional shifting with a traditional clutch. The SuperCub C125 is a step-through scooter, and that has the 4-speed semi-automatic transmission, which means you still shift gears with your foot, but you don't have to use a clutch lever. The Trail 125 is like the off-road model, so it's got spoke wheels. It's designed for off-roading, albeit somewhat slowly, and it shares the 4-speed semi-automatic shifting with the SuperCub. Now, which model should you get? Well, it totally depends on how you are going to use it, where you're going to ride, and also what style you like the best, and also whether you want a clutch lever or not. Now, if you want something cheaper than any of these, Honda does have their Navi with a fully automatic CVT, or continuously variable transmission, which no shifting at all on the Navi. That bike has a smaller engine, cheaper components, very, very basic, but it does get the job done for urban transport. They've also got the small Ruckus, which is really fun. And then if you want a more traditional scooter, they've got options like the PCX and the Metropolitan.
Okay, the next reason I love the Honda Monkey is that slow is more fun than fast. Now, that's not completely true, but let me explain what I'm talking about. Whee! Whoa! Full power! Full power! 30 miles an hour! 35 miles an hour! Come on, little monkey! Come on, baby! Come on, baby. Oh, we're losing speed. 37. We got a big hill to go up. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, little monkey. 36. So what I mean by slow is more fun than fast is that slow sometimes is more fun than fast. And when you only have 9 horsepower, you're always using, well, you're pretty much always using 9 horsepower, which means that you're using the full capability of the engine and the bike, and things become kind of a struggle or kind of a challenge, but it kind of becomes like a game, you know. Can you maintain momentum up a hill? Can you keep ahead of traffic? You know, you're just always pinning the throttle everywhere, and there's something that just is super fun about that. It's not fun in an adrenaline rush way like a Hayabusa is fun, or an R1 is fun. It's fun in a very different way. It's a different type of fun. It's like a playful, joyful fun, because, come on, baby, 30 miles an hour? We can do better than that. I really hate this little screen. I can't read it at all. It's so dim, this little LCD. It's horrible. You know, everything about this bike comes together to make you have more fun than you think you would. It just makes every ride into an occasion, into a joyous occasion. Even just running 10 miles, 5 miles across town, you know, to get, you know, get something at the store, or pick up your mail, or run errands, or commute into work, or just like I'm doing, taking a ride out here, kind of in the mountains, you know, on a back road, and I'm only going 33 miles an hour. But because I'm going 33 miles an hour, guess what? I'm enjoying the scenery. I'm looking at the trees. I'm looking at the wildlife. I'm I have more time to enjoy the world around me, and I'm not so focused on harnessing, you know, 100 horsepower motorcycle, making sure I don't kill myself. So that's what I mean by this is fun. It's a different experience, a different kind of fun. But if you haven't experienced a MiniMoto or a scooter or some kind of small motorcycle, I would highly encourage you to go do that. It's kind of a good time to talk about sort of the suspension and brakes. The suspension and brakes are not good. You know, like we said, I mean, this is not a good motorcycle according to the components or the specs. It is fun and it's cool, but it's not really like good in that way. You know, the brakes are kind of soft. They're okay. I mean, you know, there's no power obviously, but that's kind of why it's fun. But sometimes the lack of power can be an issue. I'll show you that here in a second. The suspension is super soft and bouncy. I mean, I can just bottom it out just by bouncing on it like this. Whee! I could just bottom it out by bouncing it like this. So, you know, it's undersprung, underdamped, but who cares? It doesn't matter. Now, the caveat to the whole slow is fun thing and the follow-up is that the highway capability, I mean, it's really not there with the Monkey, but it depends on how you define highway. So I'm going to go full acceleration. So this highway here, it's a 2-lane highway. Speed limit is 55 miles an hour, but most traffic moves around 60 to 65. Now with my 200-pound self on it, 90 kilograms self, and I'm 5'10" or 1.78 meters, so I kind of stick up in the wind. We're also at elevation here about 4,500 feet above sea level. So like maybe what, 1,500, 1,700 meters above sea level. So the power is a little bit more restricted at the altitude. But my top speed riding down this highway, and I've done this quite a bit in the time I've had the bike, it's pretty sketchy because I can only go about 50 miles an hour. I'm on the slightest uphill right now and I'm at 47 miles an hour, and that's maxed out. Doesn't matter if I use 4th gear or 5th gear. 48. So this really is it's not, I wouldn't say it's unsafe, but you are going to have people tailgating you going 60, 65, and you're going to have to pull over because that's a pretty big difference in the speed of the traffic. So all that is to say, this is not really a highway bike. It just doesn't have enough power, enough horsepower to go above about 55. Some riders could go 55, 60, but it just depends on how big you are and kind of where you're riding it. But for my real world use, it's about 50 miles an hour is about my max on level ground.
The next reason I really like Honda's Monkey is the modability or the modifiability, whatever you want to call it, the aftermarket potential with this bike. So the owners of the Monkeys and all the Honda MiniMotos, the Trails, you know, maybe not as much the SuperCubs, but definitely the Groms and the other models, these things are just an absolute dream for customization and improvement, everything in terms of suspension, performance stuff. You can do stuff to the engine, you can get more power out of it, you can go faster, you can do exhaust, you can do different handlebars, you can do you know, little luggage setups, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So there's a huge aftermarket and a community around not only the Monkey, but a lot of the other Honda MiniMotos. But I think the Monkey in particular is really good for customization. And there are people that spend thousands of dollars on top of the purchase price of their Monkey to make it their own. So I think that customization, that ability to really make it your own if you want to, and make it perform differently or perform better, is really one of the best things about this bike.
With Honda's cam-type brakes on both wheels, you stop on a dime. You'll have a lot of fun riding a Honda. Of course, if you must have 4 wheels, how about another Honda?
Final thoughts on Honda's Monkey. You know, you may recall the very famous and very successful marketing campaign by Honda many years ago, "You meet the nicest people on a Honda." And this really was their campaign to create a more positive image of motorcycling and the fact that more normal people from all walks of life could get on a motorcycle and have fun. And it really helped reduce that negative stigma of motorcyclists as sort of scofflaws and lawbreakers and loud and getting in trouble. Really helped reduce that stigma and give a more positive image of motorcycling. And it was an amazingly successful campaign back then. Now, much of the world runs on small motorcycles and small scooters for everyday transportation. But here in countries like where I live in the United States, motorcycling is largely a leisure or a luxury or a recreational activity. This is especially hard when we think about younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, and people my age and younger who really are not that much into motorcycles for a lot of reasons, but also because they can just simply get an electric bicycle or an e-bike to run around town, because then they don't have the insurance and the registration and the licensing requirements and the higher initial cost or the need to have to visit a gas pump that a traditional motorcycle brings. I really do feel that if companies like Honda were to bring back some of those older style marketing campaigns and really focus on motorcycles as accessible and joyful and fun and easy to use, that we might actually be able to have somewhat of a comeback or a rise in popularity in motorcycling. And I just think that would be amazing to keep the sport going for the younger generation, so that someday when I'm old and people my age are old, this is something that is still out there in the world. In terms of the Honda Monkey, it's a fantastic motorcycle. It's so much fun. It's so cool looking. Everybody loves it. And if you're on the fence about buying one, whether it's this or one of the other Minimotos, you just can't go wrong with these bikes. They're just so much fun and they're so great, and I highly recommend you check one out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please support Big Rock Moto. There's ways to do that down below. Other than that, please ride safe, and I'll see you out there.
50, 200 miles to the gallon. Price? Lower than you'd imagine. And if you want to trade in for one of the big ones, the Honda Super Hawk 305cc. Of course, there's the matter of getting Dad to agree. But it doesn't take long once you ride a Honda. Surprise!